Done with virtual class now. I can just watch, stream, and knit. And eventually do my homework. Good luck. See and hear. Sweet. So, this is a Patreon pick from Hall. Thank you, Hall, for picking this. It's spoopy. And it's terrifying. How dare you? But, you know, I'm also enjoying it. It's a conflict of interest here. So, you're just going to continue here. Thank you, Hall. I appreciate you. For both of us. I don't know. What are we talking about? Oh, okay. That was ominous. October 25th. Also, I have a new relationship. Isabella. Guys, look at us. Look. Oh. We're besties. I need us to be besties. All right. This cannot happen. I'm surprised it's even that far. The first few notes, while muffled, are enough to wake me. At the end, it became one of those nights when sleep passes like a blink and is plagued with vague fuzzy thoughts. I lift a hand to rub away the drowsiness from my eyes, although it does little to relieve the gritty, burning sensation from my eyelids. Outside, the sun has yet to peek over the horizon, but night has already given way to the cool morning light, washing everything in subtle gray hues. At this hour, the entire city remains unstirring. Ordinarily, waking up before my own alarm means abusing the snooze button twice or thrice just to catch those precious few extra minutes of sleep. This is me. Oh shit, captions. Hold up. You can hold on, vibrating phone. All right. Captions are on. Thank you, Demonas. Thank you. Just read trigger warnings and there are few I can handle. That's totally fair. Totally fair, Ellie. Take care of yourself for sure. Sorry. But yeah, there are a few. All right. Oops, wrong thing. Oh, no, I want the game. Thank you. Ordinarily waking up before... Yeah, you read that. Okay. But the persistent ringing makes it impossible now.
This better be good.
I mean, that's me. Oh my god, it's caption. Soul Survivor, heck yeah. Oh shit, caption was also my reaction. The buzzing in the game? Yeah. No, it's not your mom's phone. So Isabella just turned up at Zach's apartment in the middle of the night, having escaped her encounter with the ghost in her office. That's as far as we got with Zach's chapter. Right. Groggily, I scramble for the bag sitting at the foot of the bed. The ringing still hasn't stopped, even as I fish out the phone. And Ashton's name flashes brightly on the screen when I turn it on. Must be pretty urgent if he hasn't dropped the call yet.
Took you long enough, Z-Man.
Ashton, it's 6 in the morning. Sun hasn't even risen. Hell, my brain ain't even awake yet.
I mean, fair, but it does look like the sun's awake. Or risen.
Stop calling me Z-Man.
It's 20 past 6, Zach.
You want to talk? Give me back my 5 extra minutes, Ash. I want my sleep.
Hey, don't make fun of me. I can be a more person too if I want to.
What's this all really about? You don't usually make calls around this hour.
I'd be annoyed. Yeah, hisses and night owl.
World ending today.
Sorry about that. Becca rang me up a few minutes ago looking for Isabella. Said she didn't show up in her own apartment last night. We both tried calling, but her phone seems to be off.
Yep, that sounds right.
Do you have any idea where...
I should have known you two would come looking for her first thing in the morning.
Not a laughing matter, Zach. You can't really let your guard down with everything that's happened here recently. You've heard about the Cooper woman from the news. Everyone in the precinct has been restless ever since the incident the other day.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Listen, Ash, about Bella.
That's when my alarm goes off? Nope. Immigrant mansion. I left my voice trail off, unsure of how to go about recounting last night. If I should even say anything to him. He might be a close friend, but at the end of the day, whatever's bothering her ain't mine to speak of in the first place. On the bed, Isabella remains as still as when I transferred her the night before. Oh, she's still there. Sometime during her sleep, she pulls the blankets over her and tucked into it comfortably. Like this, it's easy to forget the horror in her eyes, or how much her hands and lips trembled. Save for her firm grip on the edge of the covers, she appears nearly as normal as would any other day. Almost.
I'm not really sure how to go about this while being...
Zach, What about her?
Something, the worry, the concern, must have surfaced in my tone, because his own shifts then. Carefully, as if he's prepared for the worst.
Look, you don't have to worry about her. She's with me right now. Since last night, in fact.
Oh, why didn't you just say so earlier?
She kind of knocked in the middle of the night. I couldn't possibly wake you two over that. And with how things are when she arrived, I thought it'd be best if I let her rest first. I just wasn't expecting people would be looking for her before the rooster even crows.
You could have at least called her something. Becca's beside herself with worry when she found out. You know how much she frets about the smallest stuff.
I
How does she
know,
even know?
I'm sorry.
They're not roommates.
That was a lapse on my part. And I just didn't think, okay, you know what? Rebecca's worries ain't completely baseless. Isabella hasn't been her usual self since the movie. Maybe even before that. I don't know if I should be opening my mouth about this, but Bella didn't outright say I shouldn't, so...
So something's wrong then?
I'm not quite sure, to be completely honest. I couldn't get the story out of her.
Really? I thought you'd learned something from me by now.
Word.
That's not it. Ash, when she appeared at my doorstep last night, she was shaking, and when I tried to ask her about it, she just panicked. Had this frightened look on her face. I'd be surprised if this was the first time I've seen it, but it ain't. Dude, the first time, she was screaming.
First time? When was this? You weren't talking about the thing in the movie house, are you? Because that was just us fooling around. Granted, I think I went overboard with the joke, but...
No, it happened the day after. And she invited us to lunch. You weren't there.
Hi, nerd. Most people don't interrogate friends, Ash. I mean, fair point. Hi, Mr. Moo. Hello, hello. You're all weak. Glances at Sam alarm on phone. Oh, 5 a.m. Sam. I mean, 5 looks like an S. And also my eyes are dry as fuck. I see the speaker icon as eyes and the phone icon as a sad smile. Oh, no. Oh, no. I think they're neighbors. Becca probably checks in on her. Okay, that makes more sense.
We were walking one second, and then the next, she's crying out. I'll be straight with you. That scared me shitless.
It bothered him if the way he falls silent after is telling. But whatever his opinion is stays absent from his voice when he speaks again. He's always been good with that, hiding what he thinks.
Did she say anything else?
Nothing. Won't tell me anything aside from a few vague words. I didn't want to push it.
Where is she? Is she still sleeping?
Right here with me, still sleeping. Should I wake her up or something? Let her know you guys are looking for her?
No need. Let her rest. I'll drop by in a few.
Today? Don't you have work at this time? I mean, I can drop her off home myself before meeting my client later.
Lo, thank you so much. Oh, wrong thing. There we go. Lo, thank you so much for 29 months of support. That is so many months. Thank you, thank you. They are neighbors? Okay. He means with the interrogation wanting to find and fix the issue, but bit more sensitivity, please. Yeah. Always.
Look who's talking.
My schedule's flexible, Ash. Last time I checked, you're the one who didn't have that luxury. How on earth do you think I'm able to tag along when you need me?
It's not completely out of the way.
They live on the other side of the town from you, Ash. Your definition of out of the way is a little screwed up, you know.
It's fine. I have some things I need to do anyway. I'll call you back. I've got to let Becca know that Scaredy Cat's fine. Bye.
I would not call her Scaredy Cat. He drops the call before I can get even a word in. And for several minutes after, I find myself simply listening as the rest of Luxborn rouses. The increasing sound of passing traffic, the bustling of the nearby shops preparing for the day, and the growing clamor of the people while they go about their morning. Not the most soothing sounds to hear following a troubled night, but the routine puts me at ease nevertheless. What's comforting, what's safe, what I'm used to. Nearby Isabella shifts but doesn't wake, blissfully unaware as the city slowly stirs itself back to life. Was her night as restless as the one I had? Were her dreams as lucid? In hushed moments like this, I envy her. Unreasonable, probably a little unfair, to say such in light of last night, if only forgetting is as easy as breathing. Small yawn escapes me while I rise from the couch to stretch. Luckily, the short conversation with Ash has effectively driven away any will to go back to bed. I still have a day to get through, despite the proverbial ghosts hanging around. The orange bottle sitting at the edge of my table is reassuring against my palm as the instant I pick it up. The sterile odor of the capsules equally so. Yet the weight they carry is something I've never gotten used to. Years ago, I'd spend minutes, heck, even hours staring at a single pill prior to taking one in. But now it's just routine, a way to stave off the unwanted nightly visits. Although I don't think Dr. Navarro will be quite pleased if he ever finds out I'm relying on them again. I do owe him a visit, regardless, especially after missing our appointments on purpose and ignoring his calls for weeks. Also, they wouldn't renew it, though, if that was the case, but okay. Another sigh comes out, tired and weary, and then I pop the tablet in my mouth.
Zach? What time is it?
Also, I have a new thing. 25th. This is the new one. Come morning, Zachary received a phone call from Ashton, who's looking for Isabella. Zachary informed him that she stayed over and of the circumstances. Before ending the call, Ashton offered to pick her up.
I'm Lotta Hart, and welcome to Jackass.
I own a pencil that used to be owned by William Shakespeare, but he chewed it a lot. Now I can't tell if it's to be or not to be.
God damn it. Slater, thank you for the $10 donation. You sweet bean. Thank you, thank you. Oh my god. I don't think Ash has heard of the word sensitivity. No. Ash being Ash again. Zach's on medication, I guess to help with his night terrors. The puns, I love it. Thank you so much, Slater, you sweet bean. I appreciate you. Oh, that scared me, actually. The bottle on my hand hits the table with more force than necessary. As much as I trust my friends, there are things I'd rather keep to myself.
Morning, Bella. Did you sleep well?
She answers the question with a long, drawn-out yawn. Oh my god. One reminiscent of a child. A chuckle manages to come out from my mouth at the sight. In this manner, it's easy to mistake her for someone too young for responsibilities. Inexperienced and immature, even. Easy to forget she was thrust into the role of an adult earlier than her own dreams can afford, to overlook how surprisingly observant she can be at times. Maybe not on the same level Ash exercises for his investigations, or Rebecca needs for her own work, but it's certainly enough to deftly put what she sees around her on canvas. And if the way her eyes flickers to the table in my hand says something, it is that I won't be able to avoid the questions this time.
Only a little. I don't remember how I ended up on the bed, though.
If it is 2B, it is a very soft pencil.
Ma doing. You didn't look very comfortable sleeping on the couch, all hunched up like that.
It would have been enough for something temporary. Sorry I stole your bed.
Hey, it doesn't matter. Besides, what kind of gentleman would I be if I leave a lady sleeping in such uncomfortable conditions? Not in this house. My nana would give me a tough scolding if I ever did that, I'm telling you.
Thanks a lot, Zach. I know I barged in at a very inconvenient time last night. I wasn't really thinking when I did, and...
Hey, it's cool, Bella. I ain't mad at you. That's what friends do. You guys are welcome here anytime. Although Ashton abuses the anytime part a lot, I don't really mind. We might have less wiggle room if all four of us are present, considering the size of this place. But as long as no one makes anything explode, it's totally fine.
Fine or not, I still owe you one for last night's trouble, especially since you don't seem to be...
A concerned expression passes over her features as she spares another cursory glance over the table, back to the bottle holding every small piece of what keeps the bad memories at bay. The blood blooming over Pa's heart, the horrified look on Ma's face as she watches him fall lifeless to the ground, and every ounce of spite seeping from the stranger's smile. You don't belong here. You monkeys don't belong here. Never stops, does it? What the fuck happened?
Well, you don't seem to be feeling well. Let me know, okay? I'll make it up to you somehow.
Something racist as fuck. She makes a slight gesture with her head towards the bottle, asking a question without really asking. Subtlety has never been one of her greatest assets, but right now, even Ash would have been a little amazed, if not at loss for words at that. She has left it up to me whether I give her the response she wants to hear or not. I want to tell the truth. Zach is a sweet bean. I love him. Don't let Ash near your kitchen if you don't want things to explode then. Seriously, though. He has a cinnamon roll. Traumatic flashbacks. He has traumatic, memories of his, I guess, dad getting murdered. Or his whole family. I can't really remember from last time. But it's never easy, ain't it? One step closer! Ah! Alright. Besties. Alright. Talking about my own problems, that is. It will never be. Not by a long shot. Not when I've let it stay this way for so long. I realized that long ago, when the wounds are still fresh and the dreams are a nightly occurrence. Can't force yourself to get better and move on to better things. It is what's normal now, and I can only cope. The question in her eyes may be unwarranted, born simply out of curiosity and sincere concern for a friend. I don't owe her an explanation, in fact. But of all the people I keep close in my life, she's probably the one of the very few who perhaps I can trust with this. Maybe she won't understand entirely. I can never hope she will. No, never to the full extent. That alone is expecting too much of her and giving too much of what I can. However, for all her shortcomings, I know she'll hear me out. And that is all I can ask of her.
My bad. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't have seen me with these.
Is Luke dead yet? Afraid not. Belle and Zach, BFFs. Both parents? I thought so. The pills rattled lightly against the container when I gently set it back in its usual place. Always the small area closest to my laptop, near the right hand. Within reach whenever, and a quiet reminder of what I shouldn't miss every day.
What? Oh, is it bad? I was just thinking that maybe it's a cold like Becca's. Do you need me to get anything from the store? Soup or something? There's one nearby, right? I can run real quick and...
No, nothing of that sort. I'm perfectly healthy right now. It's really difficult to say, but can you promise me you'll listen at least?
What is this about, Zach?
I should have been upfront with you about this a long time ago. Well, Ashton found out without me telling him anything. But you already know how that guy is. Can't hide anything from him.
If it's something you're having trouble saying, you don't have to force yourself to tell me. I'll forget I ever saw anything and won't ask questions. Promise.
No, I need to get this off my chest eventually. Besides, we're already here. Might as well finish what I started, yeah?
If you say so.
She takes a seat on the couch, her posture easy and open, and her smile honest. As if this is just a simple talk between two friends on a regular day. It is far from one, but her unreserved air is enough to stamp down the twinge of unease that threatens to come up.
Let's hear it then.
And she does. I got an achievement. Oh, it's the same thing. Well, if. True to her words, she listens while the story spills out of my mouth of my mom, pa, and that little old diner across the pond, and what it left in me that day. I can't recall most of it now. My own account jagged with a few missing details here and there. The passing years have eroded most of my recollection of the whole incident. All except for that one moment in the kitchen. I clicked off the game. The ringing of gunshots are as vivid as it sounded that day. Even Ma's hysterical screams the moment Pa's body hits the floor motionless, his lifeblood flowing out from under him. And the gunman, he was smiling. He was smiling when Pa opened the door to welcome him. He was smiling when he put a bullet to Pa's chest and Ma's head. I've heard stories of how the world can be a cruel place for people like us before. Never believed until that moment.
Nan and Gran took us right after that. Sis and I flew straight to New Jersey as soon as they heard the news. A few days after, Ma and Pa were laid to rest. And we have a new home a continent away. I didn't even get the chance to take my favorite pillow with me. They said something about the change of environment will be good for us. They had no idea the different kind of ghosts would follow me here.
I expected questions, mostly those brimming with childlike curiosity, and maybe some that are a little too hard to answer. But to her credit, she just sat there, lent her ears, and looked at me with no expectations or unnecessary judgment in her eyes. She appears wiser and older like this, easier to see the breadwinner in her. Her young siblings are lucky to have her. When I'm done, after everything's been said, she wraps her arms around me, a bit awkward considering the gap in our heights, but it gets her sentiment across. But it's difficult to answer this in kind, if I am even supposed to reciprocate the gesture given my earlier apprehension. She pulls away shortly with a smile on her face. Not the reaction I braced myself for, but it is obviously better than what I imagined.
Are you not gonna say anything?
Am I supposed to say anything after? Like, apologize or something? I don't think that's very appropriate, but if you want to hear one, I can think of something real quick.
Hi, Fender. Mental scars are like any other. Had a load of pancakes earlier. I want pancakes! Merry Pancakes Day. Who has pancakes? I do not. That's the proper way to have them. Glad someone around here can back me up. Sometimes Cat doubts my tales of Britain. I had no idea why, naturally. Naturally. I've never had lemon and sugar on my pancakes. Yeah, Fender, I wonder why. Getting called out? Oh my god. Okay.
Not really. Other people have something to say after usually. And they're not necessarily nice either.
Oh, okay then. I won't. I can't think of something anyway. Sorry, I'm not very good with this. Who else knows, by the way?
My older sister, grandparents, and just Ash and you for now. Maybe I think I should tell Rebecca too, but...
But not right now?
Yeah, not right now. When I'm ready. Like today.
I'm sure she'll be willing to hear you out once you do.
I don't doubt she will. I'm more afraid of how she'll react after. One step at a time, yeah? Whew. Surprisingly, it feels good to get that one out my chest. I was a little afraid you'd be angrier. I didn't tell you earlier than today.
I'm not angry. I'm just surprised. You didn't look like it. I wouldn't have suspected. I suppose that's how it often is, isn't it? We all have our... what's the word Becca uses? Inner demons? But this is something personal to you. I understand why you'd rather have a few people know.
That too. Well, these past few weeks haven't been easy for you. I didn't want to add that. Not after last night.
Something passes in her face. Brief, fleeting, and disappears right before I can recognize what it is.
You okay?
Yep, no worries. I'll be fine. Look, about last night... Never mind. This isn't a good time, but don't lose sleep over this, alright? What's important is you got what you want to say out. And if you need me, I'll be here.
I should be relieved. Her words are more than reassuring to my ears. There should be comfort in hearing those alone, in knowing I have another person to rely on if things ever go bad. But somehow I find myself worrying more for her instead. I'll make another attempt to get the story out of her if I can. But this is a dance I know all too well, and with her, I doubt forcing her to say anything would yield any results. As much as I want to imitate Ash, there's only so much I can ask that won't result in something a little over disastrous. At best, she'll stop talking to me until a week passes. At worst, I'd rather not risk it. I've never seen her angry. Outright annoyed, maybe, and often directed at Ash, but never furious. What do they say again about happiest people when angered? Besides, it'd be unfair for her after our little chat.
So, food then?
She seems relieved at the brisk change of subject, and as if it has been simply waiting for its cue all this time, her stomach rumbles at the mention of food. Rather loudly, as a matter of fact.
Alrighty, Missy. We're going to get some chow now. Better be quick, though. Can't have your stomach starting a revolution on us here.
Don't make fun of me. I'm not that hungry. Maybe a little. I didn't think I'd end up skipping dinner last night.
And now we have one starved stomach protesting. Sorry, it'll be nothing fancy, since I'm a little low on stocks.
Yeah, normally, apparently, pancakes... I think of pancakes as really, like, thick and not like crepes. But yeah. Crepes are... Oh my god, I miss crepes. Slather pancakes in golden syrup, yeah. I'm in love with how hard this game tries to be set in England. Everything is just a little off. Wrong plug sockets, AC, and flats. I mean... yeah, crepes. Pancakes are a bit fluffier than crepes, yeah. But apparently in England they call them pancakes, but they are basically crepes. I think that's what Americans would call crepes. We have on Pancake Day. Okay. Yeah, I found that out, apparently. And it threw me off. Always food. Always. Happiest peeps when they angry. It's true. Pancakes is Lily's cute cat. That's true. Lily's cat is named Pancakes.
I should probably drop by the grocery store after the meeting this afternoon.
I can make a quick run for you if you want.
Nah, I've got enough to put together something nice here. Maybe. I could always improvise if we're missing an ingredient or two. It ain't like we're going for a Michelin 3-star status here. Also, didn't I say you're a guest? Is this a Filipino thing? Or just Rebecca rubbing off on you?
Soft laughter that comes from her doesn't quite reach her eyes. Neither. The answer is neither. Because if she stays idle, she'll remember.
On second thought, I might need a little help slicing up the potatoes while I prep the ham. You up for that?
What? Do you think instant noodles are all I'm about? I'll have you know I can cook a mean paella with my eyes closed. All my siblings love it.
Sure you can. Come on. I think I know what we'll do with those spare ingredients.
Despite the massive effort to keep the mood light with small chatter, cooking ends up being a mostly quiet affair. Also, Isabella saw Zachary taking an unknown medicine, and concerned, she asked what for. He admitted he's suffering from a trauma ever since his parents were killed in a hate crime. Isabella could only offer him a comforting hug. To lighten the mood, the two decided to cook breakfast afterwards. Oh wait, no, I read that. Between us, the consistent clapping of the knives against the board and the muffled noise from the television I left running, words had become surprisingly difficult to string together. Not entirely unusual, we've had moments like this before, but definitely unnerving with how things are now. I really wish someone else would come knocking on the door. As pleasant as this is, breaking the ice or keeping a conversation going has never been my forte. That has always been Isabella's or Rebecca's department. Sometimes ashes, although most coming from him border on awkward or embarrassing. Speaking of the guy, he never did call back, and I'm willing to bet my entire yearly salary that he fell right back asleep after that call.
Sorry, Bella, could you...
Yep, I got it. The potatoes are almost ready, by the way. I turned down the heat just in case. You might want to check on them, though. Hold on, I'll be right there. Sheesh, wait up. If you keep rapping at the door like that, you'll break it down. Ash.
Oh, good. You're awake.
Ash has already welcomed himself in when I take my eyes away from the oven. He's never really been keen with the notion of courtesies after he's warmed up to you, this guy. All 13 of my locks he broke can attest to that. He's a good fellow, though. Did he pay for those broken locks? That's what matters. Hi, Gaelic girl. And hi, Kath, by the way. The kitty has a half mustache. He pulls it off. Fender. I mean, it wasn't my pronunciation. Any developments in the letter? No, it's just like takes place after she spent the night at Zach's place. Ash is still an ass, it's true. I like the idea that there is any chance Bella could have been checking on the potatoes while Zach was in a tiny kitchenette. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Finder clipped it. That's how upset he is. Nothing of great significance. Yeah, exactly. He's a good fellow, though. Maybe a tad bit standoffish, at first glance, but he's trustworthy.
Don't you have work today?
I could ask the same of you. Hey, Z-Man.
You're late. Something came up? You need to drop the Z-Man. It's getting old.
Sorry, I got caught with something at the precinct on the way here. Had to attend to that first before things got out of hand. I'd tell you about it, but you know how it can be with those kinds of things.
And you're here because...
Oops. Did I cut him off? Later, maybe. Okay, that's it.
What? I'm not allowed to say hello?
I doubt you're here because of that. And you're not answering my question.
Ah, my bad. Forgot to mention that. He called earlier looking for you. Rebecca's worried because you didn't come home last night.
You could have called my cell instead.
You weren't picking up. Anyway, I'd really hate to cut this little get-together short, but I need to be somewhere else. Come on, Isabella, let's get you home. I'll drop you off on the way.
Wait,
Rude.
we're going now?
He lightly claps a hand on her arm and begins ushering her out of the apartment, throwing a casual wave at me as they pass. Isabella, on the other hand, doesn't appear too fond of the idea. And sure enough, before they can even cross the threshold, she puts a firm foot down. The force alone enough to halt them both and catch the taller man off guard. It would have made for a funny picture. The way Ash almost crashes into her and Isabella giving him an indignant pout over her shoulder. Surprise and confusion are in his face all at once, two things that rarely ever grace it if he can help it. A rare moment, even for our small group. If only I had my camera with me. Dang.
What is it?
Zach cooked something.
If it's just food, I'll get you something on the way back.
But the food! It's Zach's cooking! Real delicious food that actually tastes like food. At least stay and have a bite, please. Zach, help me here!
These two, whenever they're in the same room, sometimes it feels like herding a group of unruly kids instead of talking to two mature adults. One moment they're engaged in pleasant chit-chat, and the next they're bickering over a minor issue. How dare you call me and River out like this? Frankly, if I didn't know any better, and I have an overactive imagination, I'd say there's something going on. Never mind how utterly impossible that idea is. Or it might just be me reading too much into things, like always. I can already hear Ash's laughter if I so much as suggest such. Finder! Cough, River, and Cat. Oh, Cat said it. Yep. I'm hurting. They say mobile. We don't call it cell at all, really? Gotcha. Oh my god. Read a room, Ash. Seriously, though. I cooked up a feast.
I don't know about you two, but I think you guys should really stay. I've already made enough food for all of us, and it'd be a waste.
And Ashton liked that. But OP friends! We're the bestest of friends. Look at us. Alright. I'm excited about it. I'm sorry.
Why, I cooked up that special honey glazed ham you two keep on yapping about. Got some scalloped potatoes with onions and cheddar to go with it, too.
The oven timer dings. I shoot the two of them an apologetic look before sauntering over to the kitchen, mittens in hand. The sweet smell of the glaze and salty tang of melted cheese wafts through the air as soon as I open the door and take the two trays inside. The scent immediately fills the entire room, and even with the door and windows open, the mouth-watering aroma lingers. It's appealing enough that when I put the dishes down on the counter, another starved stomach protests loudly, following a burst of laughter. My head snaps up at the two of them, and I can't keep back the smile at the sight they make. Isabella's clinging to the doorframe for support, doubled over with breathless laughter. Ash is more composed of the two, trying to look unconcerned, but a flush has crept up on his face or neck and cheeks. It's clear whose stomach that came from, and Isabella's not going to let him live this down.
You're in no place to reject an offer of free food, Frey.
I wasn't rejecting anything. Damn it, I just missed a meal, that's all.
Aw, he's flustered.
Shut it! Those guys at the precinct said it was urgent. Somebody has to be responsible for it.
Well, aren't you precious?
Right. You know, if you keep laughing like that, you'll burst.
I'm sure it won't be as bad as your stomach suddenly rumbling like a starved.
Hi, kiddos, play nice. Food's gonna get cold if we keep this up. Ash, you gonna stay?
Might as well, since Scaredy Cat's so hell-bent on staying.
Cute. I'm in the way. I'm sorry to interrupt. We eventually settled down after the food has been served. The jibes replaced by another round of friendly chatter. Mostly about what's on the news the night before. There is, however, a conscious effort to avoid mentioning what's currently on the headlines. The dead is never a good topic to talk over food and polite company, this case in particular. The wounds are too fresh, too soon. I'd likely avoid it as well if I were in her position, and someone I personally knew passed away in a gruesome manner like that. Though perhaps the closest we got to breaching the topic is when the infamous mansion is brought up again. But even then, we are careful, Ash and I. We kept the conversation light and avoid bringing up her late business partner. It's the least we could do.
Right? Yeah, they're planning to move in soon. In fact, they already have a housewarming party planned. It's why they wanted us to rush the papers. They wanted to send the invitations out as soon as possible.
Oh, now I get it.
Get what?
Remember what I told you last night about the new clients?
Vaguely? Sorry, I was a little out of it yesterday. Was it the photo shoot?
Yep, it's actually for the one you sold. When you put it that
Oops.
way,
Oh
I
my
suppose
God.
it makes sense why my boss wants me to prioritize the couple.
Wait, he has to say it.
Yep, it's actually for the one you sold. Something.
Ermagerd Mansion!
They can have those documents rushed at just a snap of their fingers. Then they're more influential than I initially thought. And I guess my boss is expecting a lot more from this project than I expected.
Bella's
Hope I can
portion.
live up to it.
She has a healthy appetite, sure. Ermagerd, it's a mansion. I mean, we're covering Ash. Block him as much as you
Your
want.
photographs are more than good enough, Zach. You'd probably win an international award if you let yourself. Ma'am Hana's easy to please, too. As long as you're good at following instructions.
I thought that was my stomach for a second. It's a good recording of a stomach growling. Dalton.
Easier said than done. Different clients have different tastes after all.
So mobile instead of mobile? That makes sense. Mobile. That makes sense. Armageddon Mansion could be a sound command. Love that everyone, no matter what stream, all call it Armageddon Mansion. I mean, that's what it is. Theory on how to record the stomach noise. Record a cat purring, boost it, and slow it down slightly. Oh.
Still, a week? I don't think that's possible.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah. They wanted everything finished at the earliest. To be honest, it's not unheard of, but...
But it's still weird. Still weird, yeah?
A slip of the tongue. Still barely noticeable to someone who's already familiar with Ash's ways, yet in this moment it's impossible to miss. I shoot him a curious glance, but he ignores it. Rather pointedly.
I can't exactly say it's like that, where I'm just the middleman after all. As much as I want to comment on it, I only know what's on the surface, not the in and outs. It's just that BRC and my boss are more hands-on with the legal stuff this time, despite having a separate department dedicated to it.
Maybe Mr. Wright helped with it too. They have their own legal team for this, don't they?
Well, they should have one. Especially for a big property like this.
They have, but like I said, it's off our hands. Rose and I don't handle this stuff in the office. If anything, to me, this just means I'll be able to send the rest of the funds to Papa's treatment earlier.
I guess that makes a whole lot of sense. Officially off our instant noodle diet, aren't we?
Ash, has anyone ever told you that you have an uncanny way of ruining the mood?
I like that her face changed.
What? I was just saying. A few more months of stuffing your face with those, and I'm sure you'll start to look like a noodle cup. That's a pretty picture.
At least I don't live off convenience store food. Or make poor, unassuming pressure cookers explode.
What? How did you... Oh, come on, Zach.
Unless that was her face this whole time and I'm oblivious, which is possible.
Sorry, it just came up while we were cooking earlier.
I'm impressed, Ashton Frey. You even made it to the news.
A one-time thing. And it wasn't as big as you seem to be imagining.
Oh, sure. Let's all pretend that one time you almost set my apartment on fire didn't happen too.
Hey, that was an accident.
You were making a salad, Ash.
How? How? What are you using to make a salad? Ash is a Sims character? How?
Can we please move on to a different topic?
Yeah. Ah! I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Alright. Salad in a pressure cooker somehow. It definitely changed. Okay. Yeah, because now she... Okay, yeah, it does change. Cute. Love that line. I have several questions. So do I. It helps, the casual talk. The harmless teasing, the mundane story is interesting enough to let time pass unnoticed. By the time lunch ends, the shadows are no longer at the forefront of my mind. If it's the same for Isabella, for whatever troubles her, I can never tell. These things, the anxiety, the fear, they ain't exactly seen. Ain't easily forgotten, after all.
You go on ahead. I've got a few things I need to ask Zach. I'll be downstairs in a minute.
Oops, I can come back now. Hi. Confusion briefly flashes in her eyes as she catches the keys he tosses over, but he doesn't give her an answer and waves for her to go ahead.
How sure are you I won't be driving away with your Shirley?
You don't even have a license. Do you even know how to?
Papa taught me how. I'm probably a better driver than you. See you later, Zach. Thanks for the food.
Always has to have the last word, don't you?
You're welcome. I'll send you the recipe for the potatoes tonight.
A grin on the back of her face went... Is on the back? She Voldemort? A grin is back on her face when she leaves and closes the door behind her. Don't let Ash near your kitchen if you want to have a kitchen, yeah? This is a common problem for amateur chefs. You hit an advanced level of knife ability. Without proper training to control the speed of friction buildup can occur, leading to a fire. Fender. Gas cooker to make hard-boiled eggs for the salad? Maybe? I picked this up for Halloween as it looked like a short jump scare mess. 2 months later, I was ordering the collector's edition. Nice. That's awesome. A grin on the back of her face would be scary. You called for that. Yeah. You called your car that, Ash? Surely you can't be serious. Don't call me Shirley. For a little while after we're done or left alone, Ash goes wholly quiet, listening, waiting for her to remaining footsteps in the hall to fade. The earlier amusement is gone from his face, replaced by what I can only describe as trepidation. I know that look all too well. When he's like this, he's expecting shit about to go down at some point soon.
That wasn't very nice, Ash. What was that with Isabella earlier? You're usually subtler with your questions.
They hired you.
Hired me who? Don't change the subject yet. What's really going on here?
The Wrights. Luke and Hannah Wright. You said your next gig is with them.
Is that what this is all about?
Just be careful around them. You have no idea what you're dealing with when it comes to that couple. I'd rather you stay as far away from them as possible, but you're already here. Isabella's their real estate agent. Seriously, of all the people in Luxburn.
Okay. I guess I'll just have to take your word for it.
He nods and claps a comforting hand on my back and turns to leave without another word. He's never been good with those. More often he fumbles with what he wants to say, but his actions alone are enough to tell me how grateful he is for the trust. He reaches for the knob as soon as he gets to the door, but doesn't turn it. Instead, he looks back and gestures with his head towards the table. I don't need to follow his line of sight to know what he's about to ask about. He's likely taken notice of it the moment he entered the room.
You back on those? I haven't seen you taking them in a year.
Yeah, I kinda had to. It got worse after the film fest. The dreams, that is. I don't think I'll be doing that again anytime soon.
Heard about that. Don't drop it, though. You don't want Becca scolding you. She actually enjoyed the movie you made, and she's hard to please. Consider that a small victory.
You don't have to tell me. She already did. Rebecca and Bella both gave me an earful after I said the opposite. Promised them I wouldn't, but you can never tell. Hopefully, once I feel better, I'll be able to think about it properly. Speaking of Bella, she didn't open up to me, but maybe with you and Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll try. I can't promise anything, but I'll talk to her.
Thanks. That's all I'm asking.
This time when he reaches for the door, he lets it close fully behind him without glancing back. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind him, slightly disturbing the papers on a nearby fridge. A lone note flutters at my feet, the letter on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermagerd Mansion! H. Wright, 11 a.m. Luxury living. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold a different meaning now. October 27th, Thursday. I don't like this. Ashton arrived to fetch Isabella hours later, but she didn't want to leave after all the food they prepared. In the end, Ashton acquiesced and stayed. The Wrights and Zach's upcoming gig were a few topics touched during their talk over breakfast. He's vibing. He is vibing. Thank you for the clip, Kat. Need more training in Cooking Simulator. BRB legit? Everything's fine. I don't like that it's night and he's alone in his apartment. Also, I like his fish rug. How many days has it been since the game started out? I don't know. And they've been hopping around because we've been different people. So, like, yeah. It just depends on who. Yeah. The game takes place over these 2 weeks. But. Okay. The next 2 days rush by in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up and new unexpected acquaintances. Or friends? Kat, can you mute your mic and just listen to him hum for a minute? I want to see how deeply creepy it gets. Frere Jacques? I don't know. I think it's looped by now. There you go. He's humming the title screen theme. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, he is a serial killer. 100%. Oh my god, he is not. Isabella's chapter starts on the 23rd, but as you saw, the furthest it goes back in time is November 7th. Yeah. Gotcha. Your humming is creeping me out? It is. Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline set by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has a vision, and knows what he wants, but damn, he can be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
There's nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I have grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, and cash in some late hours if need be. Rinse and repeat. It certainly takes a while to get some footing on the field, but it's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep at it. Given enough time, you might end up with big names on your client list. Names like the Wrights in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when the local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. A party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's a new business venture. Other times it's an everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple. And between that and the fuss that comes with, it leaves me no time to ponder over what happened to Isabella or why Ash is so adamant we keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal. But just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media, nothing came of it, and eventually it simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Miss Wright would pick him if he didn't have any good points at all. He has no good points. Miss Wright, Hannah herself, though. She ain't particularly bad the way the press makes her out to be. The tabloids had it all wrong, that's for sure. For someone born with a silver spoon in her mouth, well, she ain't exactly what I was expecting. Among other things, the newfound friendship is what I least expected from her, but here we are. Although with a life as public as the Wrights, no wonder it's the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. Can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might even end up being friends with Rebecca and Isabella, too, if they weren't living worlds apart. Probably. A beep quickly pulls me back before my thoughts travel any further. In one practiced motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on a drying rack and amble over my makeshift darkroom to get the last photos from the water bath. I want to know how you made a darkroom in this room. Inside the converted broom closet, the film processor lets out another soft clack before going on its standby mode. At its mouth, a lone photograph sits in the tray, barely visible with the lack of light. I don't want to see this. It's the last one tonight for the set Miss Wright requested. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff that is. It's bad for the business, no matter how well-intentioned or generous you are. This exception, however, she did treat me well and was a pleasant companion all throughout the shoot. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with. And maybe this is just me, but for someone who has everything at the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and a plenty big mansion to call home, she's lonely. She doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles. Always hidden behind a glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these help. A little reminder that the world can be kind too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and gently lay it on another tray, holding a decent amount of photo flow. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs to be ready for drying. No good rushing this last one, even if my body is already screaming for some decent snooze. I don't want to see this last photo. How much do I bet you it's so fucking good? I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving towards it with familiarity, while I fish for a squeegee amongst the mess of tools on the drawer with the other. The bulb flickers twice before its glow settles and casts a soft light in this tiny space. When I glance back down, squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process and finally call it a night, I don't want to see it!
What on earth?
Okay. I didn't think it was going to be her face. I thought it was going to be, what's her name? Her head is gone. I would not say her head is gone. I would say it was distorted to all hell. Someone used the smudge tool. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in all her previous prints.
Damn, that was too careless.
A common mistake to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to pick a newly processed photo in the dark, like I apparently did. It has happened before, loads of times actually, but I still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. With a sigh, I reach up for the switch again, intending to develop a new one from scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
A memory clicks. One cursory thought in the sea of many, and a short yet distinct second from the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image of my mind. There was a shadow. No. A woman. In her 20s, early 30s maybe? But with how far gone her flesh alone has become, it's not impossible to tell at first glance. It's not possible. The skin itself has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts. Blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands gripping Miss Wright's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath the vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary.
Not for me, but for Miss Wright.
Zach, is something the matter?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something, that's all. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
The memory alone is enough to make me retch. I brushed it off then. A trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things to happen. And, well, blaming this on the usual, fatigue, an overworked brain, the weather, or an amateur error on my part is far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense when that small voice inside my head whispers. The same tiny voice that only makes itself know when something is afoul. The same one that lent a curious ear to Isabella's worries about the mansion. And with each sound I spent staring at this photograph, with each second I spent staring at this photograph, the murmurs in my head only grow louder against my ears. Someone has to know. I want to show Hannah because I don't think Ash is going to give a fuck. I think Ash is going to be like, "Okay, it's a messed up photo." Like, Ash is the one that's least likely to believe scary stories right now. But also, I don't want to freak out Hannah. I think I should show Hannah, though. That's some Japanese horror trope, yeah. Not as horrific as the distorted faces in The Ring. Sure. Feelings. Aw, take care, Dawn. Have a lovely evening. Aw, the hugs. Stored photo on an otherwise ordinary webpage creeped me out when looking up The Ring years ago. Still has an impact? Yeah. I'll say Hannah. Excuse me. So that way, hopefully, Hannah's a little more creeped out and doesn't want to go into the fucking cellar. I don't have an explanation for what I saw yesterday. Yet. But when you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs on the back of your neck or leave you wanting to flee or hide, finding a more solid proof than a person's smudged off face on a photo is the least of my concerns. Ashton will undoubtedly give me flack for saying that, or even considering Isabella's words, and those silly tales about the place. The guy is a skeptic through and through. It'll take more than my account for him to even give this a single thought. However, more than his opinion, it's Miss Wright I'm more concerned about. Surely, yeah, like he basically just said what I was thinking. Surely she must have felt something in those shows on TV are to be believed. A touch of coldness on her neck, or maybe the feeling of being watched. That's what often happens, ain't it? Outside, the sun has yet to rise. I've still got a few hours before dawn. Good enough time for me to mull over how I'll go about warning her. Plenty of space to check if I'll get the same result if I redo the process again. Also, I want to see what the new thing is. Some of Hannah's shots from the photo shoot the day before came out distorted after Zachary developed them. He would have almost dismissed it as human error if he hadn't remembered a chilling memory from yesterday's shoot. The film processor hums back to life at my touch. The light switch gives out a soft click, and the darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Armageddon! Mansion! Alright. How did Hannah's chapter go out of interest? Roughly. She survived, opted to have a temporary break with Luke. Yeah, that. Oh my god. Armagar Fault, the enigma of Armagar Fault. River will randomly say, like, this whole, it was made for me, and I'm like, stop! I hate it! Although I have a lot of Junji Ito books. I do love his works. But it isn't even Ito's creepy stuff. No, but it is the one that, like, I don't know. Because it's, like, one of the first that came to light in popularity. And also it depends on your fears. I'm very claustrophobic, so that freaked me out more than the spiral bullshit. Because I read all of the Uzumaki, and I love it, but it didn't... I mean, it was weird, but I didn't find it scary. Armageddon Fault. We're at the mansion. Take care, Soothsayer. Have a lovely evening. Oh, you get double the hugs. Have a good Tuesday night. Take care of yourself. There's an online comic that creeped me out the first time I read it, and I prefer never to read again. Is it the one that auto-scrolls for you? I hate it. Army of One is the creepiest for me. I don't know what that is. I don't think I know that one. I owned Gyo. I should really read it. I've read all of Uzumaki, but I don't own it. I own Tomei, and I've read half of it. And I own the short stories. I don't think I finished that yet. And I own the cat one, where he has the story about his 2 cats, and I read all that. I think that's it. In hindsight, this is a dumb idea. Yes, it is. That is to say, rushing to a client I barely know's home first thing in the morning with the news of a ghost lady potentially haunting their new property. And there's a bunch of bizarre-looking pictures of Miss Hannah I brought as proofs, too. So yeah, dumbest idea in the history of dumb ideas, all things considered. Traveling to the outskirts of Ansem Village at the crack of dawn, and with only my bike as company, equally so. Personally, I don't think any of them would ever take whatever I'm going to say well, no matter how nice or accommodating they are. Ashton himself would tell me the same thing. Odds are he'll laugh at my face for good measure, if he doesn't freak out at me first for not listening to his warnings. Still, that's a whole separate can of worms I'll open on a different time. I mean, I don't really want him at the mansion either, but seeing as I'm already standing at the Wright's front porch waiting for someone to answer the door. More than anything, Miss Wright needs to know there's a possibility nothing is safe in this place. Warnings from friends be damned.
If only someone would answer the door sooner. Come on.
Try to ignore the looming presence their large ornate doors give off as I press the doorbell for the 4th time. Its shrill ringing merely echoes, carried off by another warm passing breeze. The first time I came to this place, I found myself basking in the silence it offers. Now the atmosphere is just heavy, packed with trepidation and tension. Isabella's right. It does radiate the creepy kind of vibe. And with the image of the day before constantly flashing in my mind, the unease becomes harder to ignore as each second drifts by. Not wanting to spend more time here than necessary, I rang the bell again. Another long second ticks by without anyone answering the door. If this fails, I can always go to Ash. Not really the most sensible course of action either, but waiting here ain't doing me any good. For all I know, the Wrights could be out of town. As luck would have it, just as I'm about to turn on my heel, a loud thump rises from the other side. It's followed by heavy footfalls and a string of very colorful expletives about one's parentage.
Didn't we have that bloody annoying doorbell replaced yesterday? That Irish guy just cost me a fortune and she can't even fix this nuisance.
I mean, I really don't want to talk to him. At all. No. I was going to say the cats one. The auto scrolls and the last panel moves. Yeah. Well, it like auto scrolls you so fast that it looks like animation, which is really well done and cool, but I hate it. Army of One is where people get sewn together? I have not read it. I want to.
And where the hell is... Johannes, if another po-faced prat is pressing that blighted bell, I swear I'll cut there.
Honestly, if I heard him, I would have booked it behind a pillar and hid. The door swings open and a very irate Mr. Wright greets me. His partly rumpled appearance, a clear testament to how early the hour is. I'm just going to warn chat, I bet you there's going to be some racist terms being said here. I just want you to know. This convo will not go well.
And who might you be? I don't recall asking the movers to show up this early.
Does he not know me yet? I was prepared to face Mrs. Wright, their butler more so. But Mr. Wright, I don't quite know what to make of him yet. He surely knows how to make an impression, I'll give him that. Albeit a rude one. I only caught sight of him yesterday as he's directing the movers. Although from how exasperated he sounded then, it seemed more like yelling was done more than actually giving orders. Needless to say, I'd like to believe those instances aren't all there is to this guy. Mrs. Wright, at the end of the day, did marry him. Wouldn't give her that much credit. Standing before him like now, though, is a different story altogether. Despite the difference in our respective heights, he manages to make it appear like he is the one looking down at me, not the other way around. An apology instinctively forms in my mouth before anything else when he arches an eyebrow at my lack of response.
Well, that's not exactly why I'm here, Mr. Wright. Yeah?
Right, of course, the one and only. And what can I do for you this fine morning? Have I seen you somewhere before? Bloody peasants all look the same to me.
Yeah, I'm actually...
It doesn't matter. I don't care. I've got someplace important to be at today.
And say, okay, go be somewhere. Where's your wife? Aw, take care, Gaelic girl. Thank you for hanging out with us. Take care of yourself. The real Mr. Wright. He clearly wears a suit to bed. It's just a flannel version. It's like a silk version. Right.
Just spit out what you want or be gone. I haven't got all day.
His eyes are sharp and expecting in spite of his indifferent tone. The very impression of someone whose sharp wits has served him well throughout life, the kind you have to carefully choose your words around. It's concerning how a simple conversation can easily seem like a ruthless form of social maneuvering. I can see why Mr. Wright would want to steer clear of it, Mrs. Wright, if only for a short while. And sometimes the only way out of the game is to be honest. I mean, they're both honest, though. And I don't think we're friends at this point. I literally have no idea which one would be better. These are just both truths. Probably this one more so. I'm gonna save either way. Or save. Options. That's not it. Save. They are both honest. Which would you rather? Tell him. Oh, okay. I'm gonna tell him this one.
I'm in luxury living, sir.
He eyes the business card I hand him with a completely passive expression. He turns it between his fingers without really reading the letters printed before handing it back in the same blasé manner one usually reserves for the people below their station, or a nuisance. With him, it seems more of the latter than the former.
Mr. Steele.
Just Zach would do, sir.
I can see why. You should hear what they say about my name. Although I'm of the opinion those don't sound as unpleasant as yours to the ear. Amusing what people can come up with in their leisure time, no? Well then, to what reason do we owe this second visit, Zach?
Right, like I said earlier, I'm the photographer from Luxury Living. I'm here about the photo shoot yesterday and...
His eyes narrow at that, mouth tightening into a small frown, passive stance dissolving into a rigid one. It ain't a complete lie. what I came here for. But it ain't the whole truth either.
Didn't you already wrap that one up? I believe my wife was the one with you then. You even mentioned a little tete-a-tete with the photographer. That was you, wasn't it?
Yes. Actually, sir, there was something I forgot to discuss with your...
And you had to show up at such an hour for something you forgot. Why wasn't there any notice about this little visit?
It was an error on my part, sir. I do apologize for not letting you know in advance.
Terribly unprofessional for someone going under the name of an esteemed publication like Luxury Living, if you ask me. Of course, even if there was a word of some sort, that butler does not check my emails as often as I would have liked. But straight up walking in here this early isn't the most sensible thing to do either.
The matter was a bit urgent, and my art director wanted it done as soon as possible before I hand him the finished prints.
Not my problem now, is it? A common courtesy would be to wait for replies before barging in. You do well to remember that. I once fired someone before they could even submit an application. Sent an email in the morning and suddenly sauntered in the office looking knackered mere hours after. Bloody walk-ins. That aside, unfortunately you're going to have to come back some other day. You see, darling wife left not a moment ago. I have not an inkling where she went, or when she'll be back, so you're better off.
Love, is it the movers?
Caught in your bitch ass lie. He stops speaking altogether, and the complacent expression he has collapses on itself. Slowly he turns just as his wife walks up to him with a step too lively for comfort, a smile too sweet, to be honest. She's very likely heard everything her husband and I have talked about.
Going off somewhere.
I've got the few things I want them to transfer already. Marianne made this splendid arrangement for the music room and...
Bitch.
Love, are you listening?
I thought you already left, Buttercup.
She musters a frown, a pout more like. A mischievous gleam in her eyes when she glances at me says, "There is all I need to know." You know what I'm saying. I would have laughed at her antics if it wouldn't offend the other man. But as it is, it's better to let his wife have her fun without any reaction from me. I'm treading on dangerous grounds with him already.
Well, I most certainly have not left yet. I wouldn't be standing here if I did, would I?
Of course you wouldn't be, darling. But don't you need to be somewhere else today? Something with Marianne? Shopping, girl, things?
Oh, I'll be leaving in a few. Unless you want to join us.
No thanks, darling. I'm afraid my liver, it's killing me today. Ooh.
I thought as much.
Our secret! Thank you so much for 26 months. That is so many months. Curl things. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, offend him all you want, Zach. He deserves it. It's true. I know you minks. The timing was great. Oh no, my stomach. I said that with a straight face. I was told there was a girl thing, so I've arrived. Gotta remember how he does that for when I want to get out of shit. Oh my god. Oh no, my liver. Ooh.
You needn't have to worry. I'll be gone in a few. It's just that I heard we have a visitor. What kind of person would I be if I didn't greet him before leaving?
A very gracious one, I'm sure.
Zachary, right? It's a pleasure to see you again.
Likewise, ma'am. I was actually looking for you.
Is that so? What for?
A huge display of unprofessionalism is what it's for.
I would rather not have this conversation with him there, though.
Shush, darling. Let the man speak. I'm sure it isn't anything like that if he has to come all the way here, yes?
It's about yesterday. The photos you asked, I mean. The copies are ready, but...
My hand stills as I'm about to fish the prints out from my pocket. A short second passes, that which strikes me how I didn't think this all through. How I'll go about telling her regarding the strange photos, or revealing this to her in the presence of another person. Her husband gazing over us like a hawk doesn't provide any sort of comfort either. I would rather him not be there. And just like that, all the words I had been practicing to say on the way were inevitably falls stiffly off my mouth. Miss Wright must have noticed my hesitance, because shortly she gives her husband's arm a gentle squeeze and a tender smile gracing her face. Unlike the first, this one is meant to appease.
Love, I think Hansi might need some of your input for the final guest list. Could you check on him, please?
Bollocks! Why in all Luxborn do I have to be there? Doing tedious jobs are what he's being paid for.
Because if we end up with people whose faces you do not want to show up in our housewarming party, we won't be hearing the end of it.
We kind of already know someone's gonna show up that's not meant to be there, so here we are anyway. But
unless a heavy dose of liquor's involved. You please do poor Hansi in your liver a favor,
You know what the doctor said about that.
He can handle that on his own, Buttercup.
Does
And
have
my
some good
liver
lines.
is doing just fine.
I'm sorry, your liver's doing just fine? You just said it hurt.
I'm sure it is. But I don't know, love. I think I caught a glimpse of the name Mitch Lakes, was it? I think it was Mitch Lakes on it when I checked with Hansi earlier. You should see
It
for
wasn't
yourself.
30
It
seconds
was
ago,
quite a
yeah.
list.
Who put that blighted twat in there?
And that's why I'm asking you to look over it before I do so tonight.
Very well.
But even with that promise, he doesn't appear ready to leave. Short of passing through the doors, he stops and glances back at me, all without bothering to hide the distrust in his eyes.
Luke, dear, I'll be fine. Go back to your butler. I'm not some pregnant wife you have to worry about.
Fine, fine. I have to go to that little ankle biter's career day later anyway. I don't see why I have to go there. Kylie's your goddaughter.
And yet, she has you around her little fingers, darling. That's basically the same thing.
If he ever had an answer to that, we don't get to hear it above the heavy thud the door makes. Miss Wright's own weary exhale after she's sure her husband is out of earshot. She's nothing but apologetic when she fixes her gaze back to me, and I can't help but return the same to her.
I am so sorry you had to deal with that. My husband can be a bit trying when he really applied himself.
I thought she said handsy, and I was so concerned. No. Oh no, not Mitch Lakes. He's the worst. Twat.
It's fine, Miss
Butler
Wright.
named Hansy.
No harm done. It was my fault for showing up here unannounced. And this might be strange coming from me, but he does have the right to be wary. The press can be quite vicious when it wants to be.
Caught unexpectedly, they'll pick you apart. It is not surprising why he acted the way he did around me.
Sweetie, if Luke treats every journalist who shows up here like that, I'm afraid we'll end up with a harassment lawsuit hanging over our heads sometime in the future. Vicious or not, some sort of finesse has to be exercised when dealing with them. I'm sorry, I hope that wasn't too offensive.
Not at all, Miss Wright. Besides, I don't think an interior design magazine would be interested in who harassed who this week. Unless it has something to do with fighting over tastefully arranged furniture. But even then, I don't think our readers will be too interested.
Oh, dearie. You've got a lot to learn. You really have no idea how a single tassel can ignite a spark in a crowd. Of course, at the end of the day, it's still the thought that counts. No matter. Let's just go.
Hold on. It's a lovely anniversary gift from my husband. She doesn't wait for an answer and immediately wanders over a car parked some distance from us. Unsure, I find myself trailing after her. A chauffeur automatically opens the passenger side door as she nears and gestures for me to follow when she climbs into the back seat.
Where are we going exactly?
Also, he has a bike.
I need to get out of this stuffy house for a while. Moving in, planning the party. It's starting to get suffocating in there.
She really married the wrong person, yeah.
Luke and Hansi can have their fun while I'm gone. I don't care. I'm getting out because I can. Another minute in there and I'll drown.
Well, the other thing is also, like how she pointed out, he might have been a totally different person when she was first with him. So, like, you know, how they've grown. They've just happened to grow apart. And unfortunately, him into a terrible person. Racist, terrible person.
My bike.
And there are, of course, a lot of things questionable about her invitation. Why she's asking a person she's barely known for less than 2 days in the first place is one. How appropriate this is, being another. But the rest of it crashes the moment she shoots me an imploring look.
Please, I can have someone send it back to your address later. And it's just a trip to the city for some furniture, nothing more, I assure you.
Did they tell us why he has liver problems? I mean, they did mention he drinks all the time, so I'm pretty sure it has to do with his drinking.
Marianne will be with us, and maybe you can tell me why you're here on the way.
He's a borderline alcoholic. I would not say borderline. I'd just say he is one.
Guess it wouldn't hurt. I might have to leave early, though.
No, she isn't perfect either, but I think she might have been better with better people around her. Oh, for sure. The people you surround yourself with definitely impact how you grow.
Excellent, then. Hop in. That's what they often say, yes?
Okay, that works. This can't be a good idea, but I really don't have any other choice, do I? Especially with the way her eyes light up when I agreed to it. In my pocket, the very picture of her remains faceless. The voiceless shadow hanging threatening between us, unknown to her. If someone told me I'd be spending my entire morning being dragged around half of downtown Luxborn looking for furniture, I probably wouldn't have simply smiled them. I would have simply smiled at them. Blech. Look at this sassy face. Disturbed, Zachary decided to show the photographs to Hannah herself. He was greeted by a wary Wright upon arriving at the mansion. Just in time, Hannah appeared to save Zachary from further interrogation. At her request, Zach accompanied her to Luxborn City. Then perhaps given them a good friendly pat on the shoulder and wish them a nice day. Not that I find anything wrong with this at all. On the contrary, this is most definitely a nice change of pace after weeks of getting bogged down by several freelance gigs and shutting... That's what the left trigger on my controller does. Freelance gigs and shutting myself inside my apartment whenever I can. If only the weather would be a whole lot nicer. The kind with less sun and more clouds, perhaps? With the mid-morning sun slowly beating down on us as high noon approaches, I can see why Mr. Wright skipped out on this trip. The bright side is, the whole thing seems to have put Miss Wright in a less somber mood. After the fifth store, her pace is considerably livelier, her gestures less guarded than the one she displayed in the mansion earlier. The presence of another person might have helped as well. Although Miss McCollough seems less predisposed to small talk, preferring to keep to herself most of the time and let Wright lead us wherever. Oh, he angry. Then maybe he was more consistently drunk and that made him more tolerable in the past? You think him being drunk was more tolerable in the past? I think the alcohol's making it worse. Because he can't stop and he uses it to get angry. Like whenever he's angry, he drinks and he gets more angry. She did acknowledge me with a small nod when we introduced earlier. But that didn't make me standing outside the store together any less awkward while we wait for our client to finish her inquiry inside.
So, interior design, huh?
She cast me a sidelong glance before returning to her notes again, her pen scratching faintly against the paper in quick successive strokes. Sure, now he uses it like that because he can't keep a constant buzz going? I don't know. I think she said he didn't used to drink or something. I did say I'm not any good at starting or keeping conversations going, didn't I? She doesn't look back up again, and I take that as my cue to stop any attempt of striking dialogue with her and keep myself occupied with some other thing. Hi, Bella Coco. Except what we have here is just Luxborn and its busy streets. People going about their day like normal. Cars moving in and out of sight, heading to who knows where. Nothing remarkably, really. Remarkable, really. The ease of which a person can fade into the background here is reflective of the kind of city Luxborn will always be. But the humdrum's one thing I learned to live with. Needless to say, it doesn't usually stay that way. There are times when it would come alive, make itself known, and reassert itself back into the world. However, those moments are few and far between. Then again, with what graces the news channels lately, I'm starting to think it's going to happen sooner. Can't say I'm looking forward to what that'll bring.
Luxury living, is it?
Her voice effectively cuts through my thoughts as I count the 13th passerby wearing a hat today. Beside me, I can hear the faint rustling of paper and the clicking of her pen as she stashes them back into her bag.
Excuse me, what?
The magazine you're working for. It's Luxury Living, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
You've been featured by them before, I take it?
Zarbucks coffee.
A few years back, yes. For just some issues. My designs still appear from time to time, though not as frequent as before. Gotta have room for new talents, right?
It may not show on her face, but the pride is evident in her voice.
Good folks, the people running the publication. Tell me, is DK still on the editorial team?
The way she said folks.
Nah, I wouldn't know. I've only started taking jobs from them this year. Freelancer, you know.
Good man, that guy. Anyone in our field should meet him. He had a lot of things to say about art, all of them relevant. Learned a lot from him, actually. Even I hope he's in a good place. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Even if we both came from two different fields.
Anyway, your portfolio must have been good if they gave you the job. They don't easily assign big features to freelancers like this.
I wouldn't say I am, but experienced, you know? The more you practice it, the more you learn the tricks of the trade. That kind of stuff.
One of your pipes burst? Oh no, Dalton!
I know what you mean. Still, you've got to keep up with the competition.
Hope everything's
Each
okay.
year, a new talent emerges, and, well, you never know. Clients can be a bit fickle-minded with their choices. Believe me. Speaking of, do you think you'd be
Oh,
up
it's
for a new
Cesar.
client after this?
One of the lead developers. Aww. Yo.
Think so? Depends on how big the project is.
She she reaches into her bag again. This time to pull out a business card, which she hands over to me.
When you're free, send your portfolio to Chris. He's my assistant.
She wrote most of the characters, yeah.
He's been looking for a decent photographer to help with updating the studio's portfolio. Nothing urgent, but the sooner the better.
We have water people coming to turn off our water. Thankfully, they can come quick. That's good. Holy crap. Good luck. All the energy.
Not sure if I'll have the time to squeeze this in. But, alright. I'll give it a go once.
Marianne, could you look this over for me?
At the very moment, Miss Wright emerges from the store. When I look back to Miss McCollough, a mask of professionalism has returned to her. Or at least that's what it's trying to be. There's a different light in her eyes as she faces her, a flicker of familiarity and recognition. I'd say it's fondness, but that would be too presumptuous. Whatever it is doesn't last and is briskly swept under the firm tone of her voice, assumed.
Definitely. Is there a problem?
They said they don't have the colors you suggested. Do you think we can change it around for a bit? It might take a while if we insist what we want, and you know I'd rather not worry about this later.
I think it'd be better if I handle this one myself. Excuse me.
Okay. All the hugs, Dalton. She walks into a shop without another word, leaving the two of us standing outside. As soon as she's out of earshot, however, Miss Wright lets out a giggle, and swipes the business card cleanly off my hand. She smiles in a bemused little thing spreading across her face and waves the card in front of me. I wish she'll do that more often, the smiling thing. It suits her more than the other one she frequently shows the media.
I look away, and the next thing I know, you're picking up women. On the streets, while the sun is high, no less. I'm not sure if I should be appalled or amazed. Whatever happened to the Zach I met a day ago? About as tall as you. Photographer. Quite the gentleman. To tell you the truth, I'm a bit disappointed he's gone.
It ain't like that, Miss Wright. And I'm sure Miss McCollough is not the kind of woman to let herself be picked up by strangers, let alone people she barely knows.
Oh, shush. Let me have my fun. And didn't I say you can call me Hannah?
She gives the card back to me, nevertheless, and with it, her mood fades into a more pensive one. An odd look settles on her face, yearning, a bit wistful, as she looks back towards the shop's display window. There's nothing remotely interesting in it for me when I follow her line of sight, though. A few trinkets here and there, a fur rug, a sofa, a wooden side table, and a lamp, all tastefully picked and arranged to resemble a typical antique living room. On second thought, it does look comfortable. But why they added a crib beside it baffles me. Unless, of course, the people they're hoping to market to are those who already have children, or are about to have one, then maybe it is fitting. Peculiar choice of decorations aside, it does make for a nice icebreaker, if it's not on the same level of weird and completely out of the blue. Can't resist, can you, Hannah? She can't. Love how every character has a huge ton of depth, seen from so many angles, and most of it spread across different routes. Yeah, it's very good. I like the juggling they did. They did a good job. Weekly COVID test. I'll probably be back later. Take care, Hermit. Good luck. None can resist the Zach. The character's depth is good. Except for Luke. He's trash. It's fine. It still leaks better than the awkward silence, which is definitely too out of character for a personality like Miss Hannah's. How should I start the conversation? Do you think a crib would make a good gift? I like that, or I think that one looks cute. I don't know. I'm bad at starting conversations.
My sister just had a baby, you know.
She tears her attention away from the window and looks at me with incredulous expression on her face. Like I just asked her to drive off a cliff. She relaxes eventually, but I can't get the image of her like that off my head. I hope I didn't say anything to offend.
Oh, what brought this on?
Nothing. It's just a thought. She gave birth a few weeks ago.
I suppose a congratulations is in order then.
Thanks. I'll let her know. Do you think a crib would make a good gift?
I'm sure she'd love that if she doesn't have one yet. Otherwise, maybe clothes. Or things she can use to care for the baby. You realize I'm the last person you should be asking about this, yes?
Hi, Lisa.
Oh, it's her first baby, don't you worry. I haven't bought a gift yet since I'm kinda new to this too, you know? The whole being an uncle thing. For a long time, it's just been me, sis, and my grandparents. Now there's a little person who came into this world as part of the family. Who'd have thought, huh?
Please don't tell me you're jealous.
Oh, of course not. But I gotta admit, the very idea takes a lot of getting used to, and, you know, scary stuff like what if I drop her, or end up teaching her something bad, or I just can't stop making her cry, or...
Something warm presses against my arm, gentle as it can be, which stops the rest of my words from coming out. Her hand, I realize belatedly. When I look to her, there's nothing but warmth in her smile. She's been doing that a lot in the past few hours, and I can't help but return it to her.
Zach, sweetie. Stop. You're panicking. It's going to be fine.
I don't know, Hannah. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a good uncle.
Don't be silly. You'll probably be the best one there is. Might even make a good father when the time comes.
A bit bigger clothing since babies grow fast. They do. This is a good example of an unintended consequences choice. The two options it gives you give you no idea what is the right choice. I know. I hate it. Doing a lot in Stardew yesterday. First star in your community center. Nice. Hell yeah.
Whoever you choose to be with will be lucky to have someone like you, I'm sure.
At this, her expression softens, sadness flitting into her eyes for a little while before she looks away.
I'm the one who's worried if I'll ever make a good mother. Luke doesn't seem to even want one of our own. How pitiful is that? 7 years and we're still at this point. I don't even know what to call it anymore. Now I'm carrying this other life with me while the father doesn't want anything to do with it.
Wait. You are pregnant?
What am I going to do, Zach? Because right now, I'm absolutely at a loss.
Oh.
Oh. Wait, is she pregnant? Did I misinterpret that? A beat.
Oh.
The realization strikes me like a ton of bricks suddenly bearing down on me. More than astonishment must have shown on my face because Hannah lets out a chuckle. The slump on her shoulders disappears altogether underneath her mirth.
Don't look so surprised, dearie. Tied the knot 7 years ago, remember? Don't you think it's bound to happen?
She is. That makes the situation so much more complicated. First of all, I left Luke not knowing that she was pregnant. Second of all, I mean, she still should, but they should go to therapy and figure it all out. And oh God, now they're linked together through a child. Zach's reaction is a mood. Yeah. Most people give clothing that will just fit. The Bab will have a lot of clothes that will fit for a very short while. Yeah. She brandishes her hand in front of me, and the unassuming silver band on her finger glinting against the late morning sunlight for a second. My only sunshine? You make me happy when skies are gray. She eyes it lovingly, almost tenderly, despite the trace of sadness in her voice. For all I know, there is an entire story there. I'd ask, but that would be too inappropriate even for friends. It's not my place to meddle, to begin with.
Or at least that's what they've been saying early on. My whole social circle would be saying it's a long time coming.
But the kid is something you want, right? Because if it ain't, then that's a whole other problem.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. I wouldn't deny I've been hoping to have him or her for a long time now. But then, now that we're here, all of a sudden, there are a whole lot of other things to be worried about. Business, a new home, public image, my own husband, and I don't know. I didn't really have anyone for a role model. I practically grew up with nursemaids pampering me every step of the way. What if it happens to this baby as well? Oh, I can already see how this will end.
Huh. I guess it's not just my sister.
What?
You and my sister. I mean, you're both having jitters or something like that. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
First baby jitters? Mind you, she was really convinced she'd do everything wrong then.
Didn't Luke get the other lady pregnant too? Yup. Assuming that she was telling the truth. Yep. Bab, baby, yeah. The ring is a lie now. So the other lady, Rochelle Lee, says yes. We don't know either way. Luke denies it. Right. I know I said I was leaving, but Hannah really must trust Zach to tell him that, especially considering the way the game talks about them being wary around journalists and such. Right. No, she definitely has grown trust around Zach.
He even called me in the middle of the night.
I'm fine with them being
Asked to
friends.
switch places the day she found out she's carrying a new member of the family. Never mind how utterly impossible her request is.
I'm quite sure I haven't done anything of that sort yet.
Oh, you don't know that? My brother-in-law has been telling me things 5 weeks into my sister's pregnancy. Since she's one cranky pregnant lady. Man, good thing I found a place for myself years before that bundle of joy arrived, huh?
It can't be that awful.
Who knows? I think we'd better leave it for Mr. Wright to decide, yeah?
Provided he comes around. He just sounds so repulsed every time the idea is brought up.
Then maybe you should say it to his face. No mincing of words or beating around the bushes.
And if he says no?
You haven't even told him yet. Besides, that's his kid. Don't people usually say fatherhood changes men? I wouldn't call myself a living testament, of course. But there ought to be something that will hit him in that idea alone.
A wrecking ball would be nice.
Laughter escapes me before I can stop it, and for a moment, I thought I have done something wrong when she doesn't join in. He's still her husband, no matter what jests or complaints she hurls about him behind the media's eyes, or in the presence of people she trusts. But then she does. Her chuckle, a small, hesitant sound at first. I find the rest of my unease slipping away.
Well, whatever it is, my point is, you've got no idea what will happen. In the same way, you don't know if you'll be a good mom. Trust me, my sister's been there. It's perfectly normal. If my opinion matters, though. A long second of indecision goes by. I can feel her eyes, filled with nothing but curiosity, boring into me while she waits for the rest. It's just a simple sentiment, but one thing I think she needs to hear for all the doubts she unwittingly places on herself. I'm just not sure if it should come from me. I'll be damned. I think you'll be a great mother, Hannah.
If she has an answer to that, I don't get to hear it, nor does she get to say it. As soon as it's out of my mouth, the bell hanging over the antique store door chimes, and out comes Miss Kloch. For more than one reason, I have never been so relieved our talk got interrupted.
Everything's been taken care of for tomorrow, Mrs. Wright. We'll have everything you requested delivered early.
Luke is one super cautious around them, but it is true Hannah knows how to play the socialite game as well. Oh yeah. She's clearly lonely as hell and desperate to have a friend to talk to. Oh yeah, for sure. October 29th is the party. Well, I can double check that. Nope, it's the 28th. Because the 29th is when I broke it off. Luke used to be that for her, and now he's not. What? Came in like a wrecking ball. Did you threaten the shopkeeper?
I've left them instructions, but I may have to visit again right before your housewarming party to check for a few things. I hope that's acceptable to you.
More than Marianne. This is a little early to say, but you did marvelous work with the mansion. I can't wait to see all of it come together tomorrow.
I'm only doing my job, ma'am. Needless to say, it's always a pleasure to hear a client is satisfied with my work.
Nonsense! You have every reason to be proud. I know you've already established your name here, but I'll still make sure word gets out, of course. I think I've got a few friends who might be interested in decorating their homes. I'll see if I can introduce you to them tomorrow.
I really don't want to impose, Mrs. Wright. There's still a lot to be done, and I'd rather be keeping an eye on it myself.
You know well enough I'll still do it. You too, Monsieur le Photographe. You better be the one taking the pictures for the event tomorrow, or I'll be very upset.
I blink at her confused. Last I checked, I have nothing scheduled on my plate tomorrow. A couple of fleeting thoughts did cross my mind, like working on personal projects, but with the expectant expression on Hannah's face alone, I've wondered before how they got Isabella to sell them the mansion with all the paperwork and the loops it has to go through. While now, the how is already standing in front of me, and it's one giant ball of persuasion in human form. If I have any doubts how she got around life, all of them have been dispelled right this instant. Hannah hasn't said anything yet, but I already know what my answer will be.
What event?
Our housewarming party, dearie. I've already sent invites through your publisher. They should have informed you of it by now.
Zach is really protective of Hannah at the party, and now we know why. That makes sense.
I may have probably missed it. I haven't gotten the chance to check my mailbox yet.
And Zach's a nice person.
Deadlines, real-life happenings, you know.
Hi, Game Freak.
They can be pretty hectic. I'll try later, but they might have already assigned it to a different photographer if they haven't received my reply yet.
That's not a problem. Nothing a little call from me can't fix. I'll have them know I'm specifically requesting for your presence. It shouldn't be too hard. Just promise me you'll show up. I expect to see you both there. No excuses.
Good company, good music, good food. Of course I'll be there.
Lovely. I hope we have that settled then. I'd love to stay and chat, but unfortunately I have an appointment scheduled with the doctors after this.
Like, did we ever tell her about the picture?
You two will have to excuse me.
Are you feeling fine, ma'am?
It's nothing big.
There's a short while in which her hand faintly touches her stomach when she says this. Her smile as she does so, a tender thing in itself. She might never let it cross her mind, but motherhood would suit her. The kid is already loved, even when he or she has yet to have a sense of the world. Candid moments like this, I wish I had brought a camera.
Sorry we had to cut this short. I'd love to have lunch with you two, but, well, you two know how it goes.
It's quite fine, Mrs. Wright. I need to get going as well.
Is it somewhere far from here? I can have my driver drop you off on the way.
No, please. There's no need for that, Mrs. Wright. It's just within the city.
I see. What about you, Zach? We did leave your push bike at the mansion. Don't worry, I'll have someone bring it to your home later.
Nah, I live within the city too. A few blocks from here, in fact. I only visited earlier because...
The photos. Damn, I've completely forgot about them. My hand grazes the side pocket where I kept them since this morning. And sure enough, they're still there, waiting for the whole world to see them.
Because? Zach, sweetie, you're zoning out.
Miss Hannah, earlier, at the mansion.
Fuck. It's more that I don't want her there. I want her to be warned. Fuck. I hate this. I hate this.
I think it would be better if you take a look at these yourself.
Is this better or worse? No! Seeing is believing, right? Reach in my pocket and pull out the photos, handing everything to her. Recognition flickers across her eyes when she reaches for them, and I have to stamp down a twinge of regret in my stomach for having the gall to show it to her. Only it cuts deeper the instant both her and McCollough's expressions change, and it's not a good look. To say she's repulsed would be a total understatement. At this time, Hannah has been nothing but direct, saying what she feels, expressing what she wants. Away from the glamour and the camera lenses, she's a whole different person. But as she goes through each of the pictures, I can't get an easy read on her.
Zach, dearie, what is this?
Your photos. The ones you requested copies of.
I wanted to be honest.
I mean, they came out that way, and I thought you should know.
Oh, I get it. You know, I've heard before that artists can be a bit weird. Have you ever gotten that kind of comment, Marianne?
Not in my line of work, I'm afraid. Or ever, Mrs. Wright.
Yeah, she's apparently more of a skeptic than I
I'd rather
thought.
keep my personal hobbies away from my actual work. Less stress that way.
Well, I suppose it just never crossed my mind that the saying applies to you as well, Zach.
I thought we'd talk about the haunting and the, like, the ghosts, not just, like, show her them and be like, here, this is what they look like.
But talent's what's important, hmm? As long as you make good art, it doesn't matter.
Oh, no, that's... You see, when we had that photo shoot yesterday, there was something.
I wouldn't say I don't appreciate it. I did ask for copies, darling. But would it be possible for you to give me normal-looking ones? Preferably with my head intact. I admire the effort you took to edit this, though. It looks authentic.
Oh my god. Hannah.
Frankly, if I show this to some other person, they'd probably believe those silly rumors about the mansion.
Can you reiterate that we didn't doctor them?
Good publicity, but not the kind I'd want for my new home.
So please, oops. She drops them back in my hands like their very surface burned her.
If you could redo this, that would be wonderful. I'm positive you can do a better job than the one you just showed.
I'm actually really annoyed about that. Just because Hall asked me to not redo my choices, I will not go and not show her them. But I'm really annoyed that we couldn't, like, explain that we didn't doctor them and explain that we saw something and try and warn her. I'm annoyed that that's not a thing, and it's just like...
Just try to keep the edits to a minimum,
Yeah. I can, sure.
Because that wasn't my intention. My intention was to be truthful with her and not have her think that they're edits.
You can take your time, of course. And speaking of time, I really must go.
I don't know why Zach didn't lead with that. I know. I wouldn't have showed them to her. Well, yeah, now I wouldn't. Hi, Reikume. Knowing that we didn't get to actually fully explain ourselves. She leaves without so much as a wave. I don't have to take a guess to know I've dismayed her, or in her words, weirded her out. Beside me, Miss McCollough shakes her head. What are the odds I've also ruined my chances with the job she offered earlier? Very high, I'd say. Great, cool. I don't either. I think even if he had, she still wouldn't have believed it. Probably not. But again, I didn't want to have this conversation in front of Miss McCollough, and like, I want to save her life and let her know. But if I don't even get to explain why I showed it, then I feel like that's not saving her life, and it's the opposite effect, and I'm annoyed. It's a foolish idea in the first place. She departs shortly after Miss Wright has taken her leave, muttering something about getting a quick lunch before fetching Bruthiel from Chris. I think that's her cat, right? I don't know who Bruthiel is, but it must be important for her to be in this kind of hurry. And, well, she doesn't seem too fond of small talk, something we can both agree on. Fuck. At Lexborn City, Zachary and Hannah met with Marianne McCollough. While Marianne was busy, Hannah disclosed her pregnancy and her frustrations to Zach. At the end of their talk, Zachary showed her the photos, which earned disapproval from both women. Great. That's exactly what I fucking wanted. Marianne is there, but it didn't affect my relationship with her, just only Hannah. Which sucks, because I didn't want her to not like Zach. I mean, I don't want them together, but at least we're still besties with Isabel. That's what matters, right? By the way, Kat didn't know the game would do that, so comments like that come off more snarky. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't know that was going to be the response at all. And I'm a little annoyed and upset that it was. Felt like Coco's just making sure that I'm protected. And after how things with Miss Hannah went, I simply can't muster the appetite for anything at the moment. If I don't do anything with it now, I have the impression it will rear its ugly head again. And by then, things might be too late to fix. What other choice do I have? Ash, Rebecca? In all likelihood, they'll give me a pat on the back. Oops. A pat on the back, and then Z-Man, go get some sleep. You're at it again from Ash. I'll talk to Isabella, but I haven't seen her around since she showed up at my apartment 2 days ago. Weird. There is one person, though.
I should have thought of that first.
Really? Really? First of all, fuck this place. Second of all, why didn't I know I had a third fucking choice? As it turns out, I do have another choice. I'm not a religious person. I won't identify myself as such. Or rather, I can. Sure, my grandparents didn't have to force me to go weekly. I'd happily join them. In fact, most of my childhood Sundays have been spent attending service. That's weird. It's simply that as you get older, the more experiences you get, forming your own beliefs on things becomes easier, for the lack of a better word. And at one point, it just stopped. That kind of thing. Nevertheless, I hold no disdain for it. Sometimes it does help. When things are really, really bad, when the dreams won't stay where they should be. Talking does, a bit. It's also a good thing Father Norman's, well, he's not completely the pious man you typically expect. My unlikely friendship only probably happened because he's the kind of guy who's cool with the young ones, as he so aptly puts. And he is, surprisingly. It makes him easy to approach. like that one time with Isabella. I don't think he believes in the ghost kind, but there he went. Maybe he has something to say about the photos as well. It won't hurt since I've already gone ahead and went to Anselm at daybreak on my bike. At the very least, I know I won't get shouted at by whoever answers
Unless
the door.
someone does that inside a church. I highly doubt it.
Despite its age, the Luxborn Church is a thing of wonder in itself, and its high vaulted ceilings and intricate stained glass windows. Oops. Right-clicked instead of left-click. One of the many gifts the Ermagerd family donated to the community in its early days. Or so I heard from Rebecca. Fucking, I clicked off the game. She mentioned this once, although most of it flew over my head then. At this time of day, the church is mostly empty, save for a few visitors and ushers shuffling about, some muttering their prayers under their breath. The scene of burning candles and incense permeate the air, giving the place a general feeling of reverence. Pretty welcoming, all in all. Even so, I keep the noise my treads make to a minimum. Disturbingly quiet feels like a sin alone. An usher points me to a pew in front of the altar when asked where Father Norman prays. He mentioned something about good priests not being in good health. Ever since he did a favor for a friend to bless an old house. This is the first time in days he's left his room. No surprise there with the weird heat lately. Even Rebecca caught something. Nervous little chap, the kid. Nevertheless, he leads me close to the foot of the dais, with a reminder not to stay too long before walking off. Seconds later, Father shifts and stands. He doesn't seem to have noticed me, and I have to give him a little tap on the shoulder. When he looks, though, to say he's surprised is an understatement.
Stay away.
I am effectively Mike Wazowskiing her, and I love that. His voice comes out a whisper, almost inaudible in the hush, a quiet restraint in deference to where we both are standing. But the tremor is there. He focuses on me with wide, bulging eyes, copious amounts of sweat appearing on his forehead, despite the relative coolness of the place.
Father Norman?
Keep your distance.
Hey, it's me, Zach, remember?
Stay away, don't come near me.
It must be the fever talking, or whatever he caught. It has to be. I don't recall ever doing anything for him to drive me away like this. In all the years I've known him, he's been nothing but polite, nothing but accepting of people regardless of beliefs or status in life. For words akin to a threat to come out of him is simply unimaginable.
Go back to where you came from. Leave.
Father, what did I do?
Leave, now!
I extend a hand to his shoulder, meant to be reassuring, but he recoils, his ankle catching on the ledge of the dais as he backs away. His shout when I attempt to reach out again echoes through the entire hall, catching the attention of a few people inside. Try to keep a level tone, but with these strangers' eyes trained on us, panic starts to weave its way into
Stay away, demon! Go back to the hell you came from!
Father, it's okay. I only came here for some pictures I thought looked odd. I figured you might know something.
From my pocket, I fish out the photos and try to hand them to him. Instead, he strikes my wrist away, almost like an accusation, and sends the photographs fluttering uselessly to the floor. Helpless, I can only watch as he curls into himself on the ground, a sad, blubbering mess whimpering to himself. He tips his head forward and begins rocking, his hands clapped over his ears.
The cursed spirit, so full of anger and pain. All those horrible things I've seen. I can't sleep. I can't eat everywhere I look. Go away. Go away. Go away. You're not supposed to be here. This is a house of God. Be gone, demon. Lord have mercy, God, our Lord, King of ages, all powerful and almighty. You who made everything and transform everything simply by your will.
A number of people have moved closer, mostly just to gawk. Thankfully, as if to save him from being an utter spectacle, two ushers came out taking him away. One of them, the kid from earlier, shoots me an apologetic look. Can't even return it to him. Anxiety is a powerful thing, a firm little notion that clings, eats, and consumes you. I can still hear his prayers even as they drag him away.
May he keep at bay and vanquish every evil power, every poison or malice invoked against us by corrupt and envious people. Then under the protection of your authority may we sing in gratitude.
It rings, hums in me as I am left to pick up the pieces of his chaos. This chaos. Back to square one we go. If there is salvation in this, I hope we find it soon. Alright. Disappointed because he wasn't able to accomplish his mission with Hannah, Zachary went to his friend, Father Norman, for advice. However, an unexpected turn of events, the priest vehemently pushed Zach away, yelling curses and calling him a demon. Yeah, like from Zach's perspective, it just looks like a really racist thing happened. Poor Zach. Like it's like a double betrayal. Anytime a character is alone in a visual novel, in this visual novel, I become nervous. That's fair. That creeped me out, yeah. She needs a lozenge, ma'am. Do you need some water? Sounds like you're having a hard time. Anytime there's a CG with some empty space that could soon fit a creepy murder ghost, yeah. Oops. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. My heavy treads and the sound of traffic outside echoing in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me talk like that, but after today, I really can't give a damn about everything. The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. As promised, Miss Wright had my bike delivered back to my apartment. Raise your glasses, give cheers to good times. You are cordially invited. Well, at least she still invited him. Be there, Hannah. Found it parked in the rack downstairs with an invitation and a note tacked on to it, in fact. Be there, it said. If only it were that easy, but it'll give me a chance to talk to her about the thing in their house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall to the side of the bed along with the invitation. I'll think about it tomorrow, when my head isn't muddled with thoughts of headless woman and the haunting smiles of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me I haven't eaten anything since I left this morning, and an empty gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time and frankly a disappointment. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, the disquiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on. The part where I don't know what will come tomorrow. Ever since the damn letter, everything has been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. Routine would have been easier to make this better sense. Oh my god, to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes, I let the noise from the streets below lull me to sleep. At the very least, that's one thing that hasn't changed. Alright, we'll save here. Creepy humming. Saving. I'm out. Yeah. So, this is where we will save and move on to the next Patreon pick. But thank you, Hall, for picking this again. Thank you, thank you. Super, super creepy. She's, oh, hey, girl. And we'll see what's going to happen with Zach at the party, which is going to be a little different. I really hope my relationship with Hannah doesn't dictate how he lives or dies. I really hope. Or I'm going to be upset. So, no creepy hums, please. Thank you, Hall. I will quit here and go back to the main menu. Nerd, thank you for that follow. And we're going to switch over. I'm going to take a quick break, run to the bathroom, get more water, and grab some noms. But we're going to switch over to the Blackwell Deception. We've been working through the Blackwell series, which is a point and click about a medium and a ghost solving mysteries. So, a very sassy ghost that I like to shit talk. But it's very, very good. And it's a Patreon pick from Lacia. So I will play that after this quick break. No relationship can't affect whether someone lives or dies. Oh, thank God. Okay. Whew. I was afraid that was a thing. Okay, well then that's fine. Then that just dictates whether or not they like me or not. I'm fine with that then. I'm fine with that. Sorry you didn't like me being honest. Actually, I wasn't even honest. He didn't say shit. But I will leave you on this with the creepy music. Because I'm mean. And I will be right back for some more games. Alright. BRB, guys. I'm still hooked up.